Well, I'm Edward, and yeah, it's been a long journey to get here. We've been going to boat shows now for well, probably about 5 years, researching. We knew what we wanted. We knew that we wanted a sailing catamaran, but there's a lot of choices out there from different places in the world, and yeah, that makes your decision-making process really difficult. We spent a lot of time researching, and yeah, finally came to a decision of buying a 1260. Yeah, it's one of those things where we really thought that that day would never come. To be honest, that was something that was a dream come true for us after searching for 5 years, and I think for Michelle and I, it's a beginning of an adventure. You know, the decision-making process though was difficult in regards to making that choice between sailing ability of a boat and then the livability of a boat. You know, there's a lot of boats out there, some of the European brands and things like that, where they've got probably a lot more creature comforts on the inside, but the trade-off with that is that we've discovered that they've got big lumpy hulls, and basically, you're increasing your wetted area and your hobby horsing and basically the seaworthiness of the hulls and the boat overall. So that's when we started looking at Seawinds in terms of how Seawinds have really, in my opinion, created a really good sort of sensible compromise between performance and the way a boat is supposed to sail, and a really good creature comforts, and bring that compromise together in a really, really great way. I think a big consideration for Michelle and myself was, can we afford it? Could we afford a boat? And how much should we spend on a boat? I guess if anyone wanted to just throw everything at it, a lot of people could afford a boat, but in terms of doing it in a sensible way where you're not selling your home and things like that, you've got to look at a way for trying to help it pay for itself and pay its own way and pay its way down. We did have to actually finance some of the boat, and then we were looking at ways of basically, all right, how can we do this? We'll start talking to the people at the back end of that, the charter people, and see what sort of returns are possible, what they've historically created for their clients. And really, once we started doing that, that was at the last boat show that we actually decided we wanted a boat. Now we just want to decide, right, how are we going to make it work? We know we want one, we know that we want that to be part of our lifestyle, but we've got to now work out the numbers. How's it going to work? So that's when we started talking to Sydney charter operators, Whitsunday charter operators. We were going to do both. We were going to do the summer season here in Sydney, and then we were going to do the winter season in the Whitsundays, which is the bareboat side of things. Michelle and I both discussed that over quite a period of time, and really we just decided that was a step too far for us. We wanted to actually have more time to use the boat, and while it was up in the Whitsundays, that was going to be harder for us in terms of my work schedule. So we decided that we'd keep the boat in Sydney Harbour full time. Now, we may take a little bit of a reduction in terms of our revenues, but that was totally affordable and fine with us. It's just really a personal choice to say, what sort of charter, if you're going to charter your boat and make an income from it, what sort of charter are you going to allow on your boat? Is it going to be a skipper charter like corporate charters here in Sydney, or is it going to be bareboat where everyone can just hop on your boat and take it off and go sailing? And there's nothing wrong with that. I've got no problem with people who do that. Obviously, there are people that make good living out of doing that and pay for their boats very nicely. For us, our personal choice was that wasn't something we were comfortable with, and we really just decided to keep it here in Sydney, not just from the point of view of the boat being looked after by a professional crew, but also this is where we live. So having the boat right where we live, when it's not being used, we've got the flexibility to hop on board. If it's a great sailing afternoon, we're on Sydney Harbour, off we go. And we get that beautiful compromise or that combination of making some money out of the charter market here in Sydney, as well as having some great lifestyle and sailing opportunity here in Sydney Harbour as well. I actually think that, when you're looking at my experience, and I think I'm speaking on behalf of both of us here, I think my experience is that we probably did things the wrong way around. We probably were so caught up in looking at all the different boats, and not to say that that was a waste of time. We don't look back and go, oh gee, we wasted all that time. That built up our knowledge base, in regards to finding out what makes, the boats tick, what makes a sailboat a sailboat. And I think we needed that time personally to actually come to a decision that we were really comfortable with. Some people do it quicker. We took a long time about it, and we did a lot of research. For me, that's what I do for a living. It's research, then some more research, and when I've made a decision, do some more research. So I just am a researcher. So I mean, I think really when it comes down to it, it really is something where if I probably did it again, I would probably cut down on the research maybe a little bit and maybe go to the back end of it quicker. Or maybe even do that in the very first place. Go, all right, well, realistically speaking, we know we need to make an income from this boat, at least in the first few years. Why don't we just look at that at the back end of it at the front? So reverse engineer it and basically go, right, all right, we know what we can make out of the boat historically because they've already been doing it for decades. So now we can go with a clear vision of how much we've got, how much we need to borrow, and how much income we're going to get, and we know those figures are real. So that gives you a lot clearer picture and a lot more confidence in regards to making a decision. I think that's what actually slowed us down by probably about 2 boat shows. So I think now in hindsight that's the way I would do it. To me, that was invaluable. I mean, when you're buying a boat, I've got to say, I think for everyone, I don't know if everyone's the same, but for me, it's a little bit of a surreal experience, until you get your hands, like you're stepping on your own boat and it's all real and it's tangible, right there. Everything's in the planning stages. You're a long way from your boat if you're in Australia or wherever you are in the world. So going and actually seeing your boat in real time, in real life, what stage it's at, which is also pretty awesome in terms of what you learn about boat building. The way you guys took me through the boat and the factory and actually showed me the stages, and I think if anything, I already had a huge amount of confidence in the Seawind brand and the build quality of the Seawinds, but once you took me through the factory and showed me the different processes and how the boat was put together, that just sort of solidified everything even further to say, well, job well done. I picked the right boat and I picked the right brand and the right people to build it. So basically, I think I would never do it any other way now that I've done it that way. And really tying it in, I mean, if you can make a trip just to go to the factory and meet with you guys and have a factory tour, and that's great, but you're also visiting Vietnam, which is a pretty cool place to visit. So we tied a holiday in with that and, checked out some of the sites in Vietnam, had a great time, a great break, and then met up with you guys. And all in all, anyone who's buying a Seawind, I would recommend go to the factory and check it out.